to the Sexy Geeky interview with Emily Willis and Ann Uland. Hello!
Hi! Hi!
Hey, lovely seeing you both. And it's super exciting to get in very quickly because you've just started the, well, I say just a week into it now, the Cassius Kickstarter. It's your third published thing after If the Shoe Fits and Grave Impressions, which is an ongoing webcomic. So for those who've not seen the really epic Kickstarter trailer, that's the thing, I have to call it a trailer rather than just like a video because there's music and dialogue and action and it's suspenseful. It's like into the,
Thank you.
This is what we're making. Okay. Was it your intention to do it that way at first, or just do the normal thing about talking to the camera?
No, we really did want to do like a movie trailer-esque sort of thing. I saw a Kickstarter video that did do their comic video as a movie trailer. And fun fact about me, when I got into my first expression of fandom was to do like the Disney music video stuff that is kind of scattered around YouTube. I did a lot of that for a while, and I was kind of big into that. And then I just kind of stopped during my first time at college. I just kind of stopped because I had other things to do. And my major was requiring I actually, do work. So, so I still have the skills as a video editor. So I plotted it out with her. I said, okay, I really love the, I'm a big sucker for the Elizabeth the Golden Age movie. I don't know why, I just am. And I love the trailer for it. So I was like, okay, so this is what I have in mind. We're going to do it with this. And guess what? She gave me, I gave her a shot list, and I was like, this is what needs to be said. This is the dialogue that needs to happen. It's all taken directly from the comic too. So it's not like I just made any of it up. It's all actually direct. And that was fun for me because I was like, hey, if you put this in this different sequence, it sounds even more epic than it already did. So yeah. And I had a lot of help. My best friend did the voice of Prima, and then my dad actually did both the voice of Marcus and of Caius. I just voice pitched. I just changed his voice. And he had so much fun with that. He's a huge ham. And then I actually did Junia's voice because I didn't have enough time to go out and actually search for like voice actors or whatever on the internet. And we
discovered I have flat affect reading from the script. So
we tried.
I was a sum total of 0 help. I drew things.
That's a lot of help. That's some really good art.
That was like 50% of the whole thing right there was the art, If
you ever have a robot character, I'll be perfect. I'll be like reading from the script and it will be totally flat. We had a lot of fun doing the video together though.
Yeah, that was the best. Like for me, that was one of the best parts about doing the Kickstarter, just like setting it all up, was getting to do the video because we got closer and closer to it, and it was like, hey, these are coming out great. Yeah, this is coming out really cool.
It's like writing a comic together, a little mini comic together, except that there's epic music making everything sound 10 times better.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh yeah.
Now I have to take a animation class.
Well done. It looked amazing and sounded amazing too.
Thank you. That's kind of our pride and joy right there. When we tell people to go look at the Kickstarter, we're like, I don't care if you don't pledge, just go look at the video.
The video's fun.
We spent so much time on that thing.
Video aside, which everyone should just pause and go watch now. How would you describe what Cassius is about?
So Cassius is set in a fictional version of Rome called Latium, and it follows our main character Junia, who has both the blessing and the curse of this mark, which is called the Mark of Cassius. In her particular universe, Cassius is a figure that is said to bring about great change according to their history and whatnot. It's this legendary figure, and Junia has been given this mark after a great tragedy. And so it's sort of her, it follows her and her decision and what's going to happen, because there are a lot of people who would like to utilize her to do a lot of political things and change what's gone on in this world itself, because she is such a rallying point as this bearer of this mark. And Junia will find out at some point that it's not all it's cracked up to be, in some sense. So it's kind of an epic hero's journey. And I don't know if you've heard of the heroine's journey. It's very lesser known, but it kind of sucks. It really sucks. It's basically the woman has a great adventure and then decides she wants to go home because she really just wants to be a housewife. And it's like, you know what? That's awful. That's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. So I've decided, even though the hero's journey isn't that great to begin with because it's kind of formulaic, But I was like, you know what? I'd rather have the big epic adventure and give Junia that particular epic adventure than have her go through the heroine's quest. So that's kind of what it is. And, you know, we thought there was really no better way to do that than through a Roman setting, or Roman-esque setting. Because Rome is sort of something that Western Europe and the Americas use as a...
it's an archetype, really, I think. So it speaks so much to most people who are Western European culture or have been exposed to that, because it's so interwoven into our culture that if you bring in that archetype, I think it just, like, the story speaks to a lot of people.
It's a use as a validation tool. Yeah.
It is.
And there's no better way to kind of subvert the that sort of validity than to utilize it with queer female women. So, or queer women.
It sounds as epic as it looks.
Thank you.
It's quite a different tone from what you've done before, really. Grave Impressions is somewhat lighthearted, or at least small town feeling. So it's not like there is something going on, but the ramifications are quite small-ish.
They are, yeah.
Big ramifications for specific people.
Yeah.
But it's not like shattering, changing the world. And change.
Yeah.
In Cassius, yeah.
Yeah, Grave is more of like a personal level of big things going on, whereas this is an epic. It's like the world, well, countrywide changing thing. What made you want to like take it to that level of this very different place? Is it something you've wanted to do for a while, or?
Well, for me personally, I like action adventure stories. And I mean, I love mysteries. I just kind of love genre hopping. So I don't want to think of myself as like being able to be pegged into one specific genre. I'm not just going to be able to write mysteries or write fantasies or write fairy tales or whatever. I kind of like doing a little bit of each. But Grave Impressions is, you know, for me, I mean, I just took a whole quarter on noir fiction and detective fiction. So I just got done spending 5 hours, 10 hours every week for 10 weeks, sitting in a classroom listening to a professor lecture on detective fiction and hard-boiled noir. And it was great because it's going to help me write Grave Impressions even better than it already is. And that makes me really happy about that. But Cassius it is something different, and I thought if we're going to do something with female characters, I don't want to just have it be the small town feel, because there's nothing wrong with it, but I think there's a lot, when people write a lot of female characters, it is kind of relegated to the small town drama, or
it's a personal drama. It's not like a world changing drama.
And for me, I thought that would be kind of fun to flip that around and have the mostly male cast deal with the small town drama, but it is also a period drama in some sense, and a mystery story, versus Cassius, where you do have a lot of female characters going out and doing something that is kind of epic and well-changing.
Well, we get a lot more sword fights and dramatic, like fleeing on horseback and towns burning, and there's just a lot more action. I've been begging you to write me something where I have a good meaty action scene to draw for ages. I'm like, I love Grave Impressions. I will always love drawing Grave Impressions. But one of the things about it is it's a lot of talking, what we call talking heads. So, this is kind of artist candy, Cassius's, because, Lady rips out a dagger and they have a sword fight at one point. And I'm like, yeah, this is more what I'm talking about. Things burn, people bleed. Every, few pages, it's good. This is a lot of different things to draw, I think, as well as different things to write from what we're normally doing weekly with Grave Impressions. And I don't know, I think that's kind of how we keep going on such a long project, because Grave Impressions is going to be years and years and years, and we need that going in. So just having something where it's like, we always have like more than one pot on the fire, I guess you could say, because it's like, we can put one down, pick the other one up, do that for a little while, go back to the first one, and we don't get burnout on any one thing. And I know I would be in danger of like creative burnout if I only did one thing, whether that be Grave Impressions or Cassius or something else. If I only ever did that one thing, I would get so, like, I don't want to look at it anymore. That I would be in danger of not finishing. But if we always do this, where we always have some new idea we're generating or like hopping over and expressing ourselves that way, then when I come back to my core webcomic like Grave Impressions, I'm like, oh, okay, I can keep doing this. I have fresh ideas. So
it totally makes sense. I know so many people who like start on a thing and be like, oh, I'll do this. This is a great idea, and then 2 years into it, like, when will it end? I've been here so I have other ideas to do, and just have to get through the slog or finish it or think of it something differently. But yeah, having been able to have the freedom to do more than one thing at once definitely allows you to keep it actually going, keep the creative spark going, definitely.
We're really lucky in that sense. I mean, and we still do a page every Wednesday for Grave Impressions, but it does help to have another project so that we can express things a little differently and be able to change the subjects. We're not always being like, okay, so what's on the plot? What's on the docket for this week about the mystery? What's going on here? Now it's we can change topics and talk about other things, and we know that there's other stuff we want to do in the future, and it's nice to be able to have like a sort of idea of where we want to go with our stories and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. Fantastic. It sounded a bit at that moment like, are you choreographing the fight scenes in with the writing, or it's just been handed completely over and be like, now Anne will write make the amazing fight scenes happen? Because it sounds like you have a lot of...
No, that's exactly what's happening. She gets to do all of the fight scenes because
I get to trade off a bit, because I show you the thumbnails, because I'm really big into thumbnailing my work before I like just draw it out in detail and put all the work into it to draw a page. So I'll show you thumbnails and it's like, okay, is this working? Oh, this might need to have, if you're shooting it that way, we might need to have a speech bubble here that says this, or, maybe if we did this angle or that. Is this going on for longer than you were imagining? Is this a shorter fight scene than you were envisioning when you wrote it? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of back and forth because you can't really see it in this video, but we're in one tiny spare bedroom office space. Mm-hmm. So we work literally 3 feet from each other.
Yeah.
24/7, 365. So there's a lot of, hey honey, what do you think of this? Hey honey, come look at that. Here, let me read you this thing I wrote. Mm-hmm. So I think I just feel like there's a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
Between both of us.
Yeah. I let her, we both, well, I don't say I let, we both have a lot of creative freedom to be able to sort of take the reins on a project, on a specific part of a project. If we're like, no, I have this, let me take this and run with it. We're pretty good about being able to be like, okay, yeah, sure, you go with it and let's see what comes of it. I mean, I know there's certain times where I've been like, I don't like the way this scene is written. I need to rewrite it. I mean, she's told me, I don't know how many times I rewrote the first issue of Cassius before we ever did the Kickstarter. I was just like, nope, this isn't right.
This isn't right. Since October, because either you decide it wasn't right or I decide it wasn't right, because I'm your worst critic. I'm sorry.
So, I mean, but I would be like, and I think, what was it? It was like, I don't know, maybe like a month before the Kickstarter went live, and I was like, okay, the script is done, we're good, and I went back and reread it, and I said, nope, it's wrong, this one scene is wrong, and she was like, it's not wrong, you're fine, and I said, nope, just let me do it, I've got this, and I sat down and I hacked it out, and I like read it over to her, and she's like, yeah, no, that was actually a lot better.
It's a lot better now.
I was like, yeah, I told you I got this, versus, and she'll do the same thing, she's like, no, wait, I have this. And it's great because there's a fight scene in the first issue, and I was not expecting, there's a certain thing that happens, and I wasn't expecting it to happen the way she drew it. And let's just say one of the female characters is way more badass than I was expecting her to be, and that's not a problem. I was just like, oh man, that's way cooler than I thought, and she totally took the reins on that. It's like, here, let me draw you out something. I was like, oh my god, this is great. I was like, keep this, it's good. Forget what I wrote. You're good.
We feed off each other, I think, and then we also edit each other too. So
that's true collaboration. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's like the melding of two minds.
Brilliant. So you say in the Kickstarter that it's based on your own version of Rome and inspired by Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. What are the main differences or main inspirations you take from both of these things?
Aesthetically, Rome's really cool, but she's a trained historian, I'm just a history nerd in general, and we both know, like, all the cool things about Rome are spread over, like, 1,000 years, so if you picked one, say you said it in actual Rome, you'd have to pick, like, oh, it's AD 72, and a lot of things would start to be anachronistic that you wanted to put in, and plus you'd have to do all this research. And when you do ancient history as opposed to more modern 20th century history, there's a lot more debate about, like, what's the right way to portray it exactly, so you get all tangled up in that, and I think we'd almost lose something in we'd lose some of the story and the aesthetic to, like, the nitty-gritty details in that case. Mm-hmm. So we're like, okay, let's put in everything we love about Rome and the extended Roman Empire, because it was such a melting pot, and you don't usually see that represented. Like, all of the cultures that Rome also touched, or traded with, or came into contact with. Let's put some of those as a big dose of diversity into Cassius. And like some of the other locations that are going to show up in Cassius are inspired by like by Delphi and Greece, by
there's some
Crete.
cities, yeah, there's some cities in North Africa specifically that Rome touched.
North African stuff.
There are cities in North Africa. We have a whole, what's your book, the Lost Cities book? Like,
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah, this is a cool book.
We grabbed this. I love our Barnes and Noble. It's like Lost Cities or whatever. But basically, it's Lost Cities from the ancient world, and there's all over the place. But there's like Ephesius and Baalbek and Babylon and whatnot. But there's all sorts of these cities that, I mean, some of them I've never even heard of. Are just, they have this stunning architecture that's still
you don't
left.
usually see it represented though, and we can put like big doses of that into different settings in Cassius. If we say, oh, it's a Roman-inspired universe rather than this is Rome, like actual Earth Rome in the year
Whatever,
XYZ.
yeah.
So I think it works better as like historical fiction in this, like historically inspired fantasy fiction in this case, rather than like explicitly historical fiction.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's just on my end there from the art too.
No, that
Oh, yeah.
makes a lot of sense. It's always annoying when you watch something that's like a historical thing, and some of it is so good and some of it's so inaccurate that you're like, I can't marry the two of these things together. I have to like it, but with a lot of asterisks. You're like,
that's a huge problem with me as a historian. This is like the third or fourth time I've said this, so I think I've got this down by now. What bothers me a lot is that when I see portrayals of Rome in popular culture where it's just a bunch of white dudes in togas, and I'm like, man, it's just not, it was not like that. Rome is a melting pot. You are looking at the Mediterranean, unless you were talking about Roman Britain. Pasty white guys is not going to happen. I'm sorry, it just isn't going to. And it bugs me. It just bugs me. It bugs the crap out of me because, like I said earlier, Rome is used as a lot for Western Europe as a validation source to validate a lot of things that have happened in history. So calling back to the Romans itself, I mean, the whole thing about using their marble to describe the fact that they were probably very white. You know, oh gosh, they must be white.
Marble Rome
Romans were pure white too. And then, you know, it's such a huge discovery to find out they painted their statues. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, course they did, you know, none of them weren't that white. So and that's, you know, and I don't know, that's the thing that always bothered me. So I knew going into writing Cassius, if I was going to do this historically inspired, you know, Roman inspired, there was going to be an incredibly diverse cast. We only have 3 characters that look like they are from Western Europe, and specifically different regions of Western Europe. So and that's it. We have a huge cast, but everyone else is completely diverse, and that was the whole point, was we wanted to showcase this really neat spectrum, even if they didn't look like they could have come from, you know, actually Roman Empire, just this diverse spectrum of people, because it's
representative of the melting pot idea in general. I got really like, I went on a Tibetan kick, actually, of like Tibetan design and fashion and stuff that goes into one of the other state locations that they're gonna go visit, that I'm like, which I don't know if Rome was exactly in contact with Tibet historically, but I'm sticking it in there because this is inspired by, and it looks really cool, and you don't usually see it show up in comics. So I'm like, it's a really neat aesthetic, but we're going to put some of that in.
The idea is to merge and meld and blend some cultures and have fun with it, you know, because, I don't know, that, for me, it's fun to showcase things that aren't normally seen. And I mean, as far as inspired by Julius Caesar, I am a diehard Shakespeare buff. Like, it's just, we are both. We have an entire poster downstairs that is the entirety of which play is it?
It's Much Ado About Nothing, because Much Ado About Nothing is my baby, thank you.
Yeah, it's gigantic. Like, it's more than life size.
It takes up the wall. Yeah. It's printed in like 5-point font, and it's the entire script.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and
I can find all my favorite quotes on it.
And like, I own a really large omnibus of Shakespeare and whatnot, but like when I had not read Julius Caesar until I was like in the 10th grade, and we were doing that interesting thing where they make you read as the characters. You know, they're like, let's read it out loud as a class, and I'm a military kid, so I had just moved from Germany to the U.S. for it kind of felt like the first time, even though it wasn't. Like, I'd only been there for 6 years, but it sure did feel like, oh gosh, I'm finally experiencing U.S. school education.
Re-entry shock.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, sure. And she's like, who wants to play Cassius? And I was like, I have no idea what this character is, but I like the name of the, I like the sound of the name. Yeah, I'll do it. And I really, really loved the play, and I had a really good time. And it kind of just became one of my favorites all around. And I got the idea about, I don't know, September of last year that I really wanted to do something with Shakespeare because I really do like it. I love Julius Caesar, and it's a fun play. I mean, I don't know if you saw the whole, the entirety of social media just kind of blew up over the Ides of March and got really, they're like, hey, that's a fun pop culture thing we could talk about. And I don't know, for me that's kind of fun. And so I was like, I should do something with Julius Caesar. I don't know what, but it would be really neat to do because anytime I talk about it to people, they were like, oh yeah, I kind of liked that play. And then I was talking with a friend of mine who said that they wish that there was more, comics where queer women were, just doing something action-adventure-y, and it wasn't actually about their sexuality or about the fact that they were a girl. There wasn't the whole, you gotta fight the guy who is like, no, you can't do this because you're a woman. I was like, yeah, that kind of is a really awful trope that keeps getting used over and over again, and I was like, yeah, that does kind of, that there is kind of a market for that. And there is kind of I don't know, there are kind of people who want that, and I know I wanted it. And so, I sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, no, this would be kind of neat. So I kind of put everything down and started sketching out this fictional world, and coming up with the idea that Cassius in this world is a legendary figure. And there is an accompanying Brutus figure that goes with this. But as far as how it deviates from the plot of Julius Caesar, that I can't say because it is actually intertwined with the plot of Cassius itself.
Figured it might be.
But needless to say, it's actually it's a really fun one. I had my epiphany moment when we were driving home in the car one day, and I was just like, oh, I totally know how this is how it's gonna relate in the sense of a what if, sort of. So I was kind of excited.
We have so many epiphany moments in the car, don't we?
We do.
Because we drive to a lot of conventions.